everyone, Brent from BC Does, bringing you folks another hopefully watchable video. Man, it is good to be back on the platform. It's been a while since I made a video. I live down here in Central Florida, and we had that tropical storm roll through here. It seemed like it dumped like 20 inches of rain, and I work in the roofing industry, so you can just imagine the hours that I've been putting in, and I haven't been able to get on here like I'd like to. Anyway, got the two window albums up here in the window. First one to comment on what those albums are correctly, I'll pin your comment up top. If you like these type of music videos, please smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn those bell notifications on. We try to post 2 to 3 videos a week here on the channel. And you know, we've been talking about a lot of music, and I just want to give a shout out real quick. I mentioned this last week, or a couple weeks ago on my videos. I picked this up. This is Extreme Porno Graffiti. If you've never listened to this album, all you know is that ballad More Than Words, and you think, oh, Extreme's a soft band. Neil Buttoncourt, man, they shred. It's a fantastic record. Everything from slow stuff like More Than Words to Sinatra sounding stuff, talking about New York, to just shredding guitar. It's just a fantastic record. If you're of a younger generation and you haven't heard that album and you like guitar rock, check that album out, Extreme Porno Graffiti. It will not disappoint. Well, folks, I'm doing it. I said I wasn't going to do this, even though Metallica is my favorite band in the entire world. There's so much liquidation of Metallica content on YouTube. I said I wasn't going to do it, but you know, why not? I mean, it's my platform. We talk about music here. This will open up a dialogue. You can let me know if I'm wrong or what your selection would be. But I want to do my ranking of Metallica's albums here. I see a lot of people do it, and I'm always like, I don't know about that. And maybe you'll watch this video and you'll feel the same way. Maybe you'll be like, wow, this guy's really got that album of theirs above this album. So we'll go through their albums. I'll give you a little bit of a reason why I have everyone ranked the way that I do. And you guys let me know, and girls let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree. I'll be more than happy to chat with you folks back and forth. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. It's going to be a long video anyway. So we're not going to talk about Beyond Magnetic. That is not a full studio album, although there are 2 albums on here that are original Metallica content or original Metallica songs that are on this list because they were put out as, you know, albums, with the exception of the 590 EP, which I do have included in this list just because, and we'll get to that when we get there. So starting out, and I don't have this album to show you, is Lulu. I just don't have it. I'm probably never going to have it. Yes, I'm a collector, I'm a completionist, but man, that's an expensive vinyl to buy, and it's just, I've tried to listen. I can't listen to it. So hats off to you guys, Metallica. You needed a creative outlet. Whatever was going on there with Lou Reed, I don't know. It's just not for me, but I get it. So next up we have Saint Anger. And you know, I was looking at some Reddit comments, and there's a battle about this record. You know, a lot of younger Metallica fans seem to like this record. You know, I don't know. You know, I see a lot of comments in the comments below when people are doing these rankings that Saint Anger doesn't get enough love and that it's a good album. It's just not. I mean, it's just not. I think they get the Metallica boost, you know, so to speak, on that album. Let's face it, if any other hard rock or heavy metal band put that album out, you'd be like, you know, next. Now, I know that sounds a little harsh. There is some good moments in the album, and there are some good moments in songs. There are some riffs that I would take out of this song and mix in with this song to make, you know, a better song. You know, I think that album could have been 5 songs long, to be honest, and to have decent songs. And the whole no solos, man, I just don't get that. It felt like Kurt was just not there at all, you know, and it's a shame because Kurt was the one that was still there when everybody else was quitting the band or running off to rehab or whatever. Kurt was there, and it's a shame that I felt like he got done a little dirty on that album. And I get it that when it came to the end of the album, they just wanted to cut it and just get on the road, tour on the album, and just be done in the studio with it. And I also understand it was a frustrating time, and but the drum choice, I mean, what are we, tone deaf? I know that we wanted it to sound like a garage feel and a raw and gritty feel, but that was just not a good choice. Everybody that knows this album knows that. And even when you get to decent parts of the songs that are on that album, and you're like, okay, I can handle this, that kicks in. You're like, dang, man, I could probably digest this if it wasn't for that stupid snare drum in that album. And there's a couple of albums like that, and we'll get into it with Lars. Let the producer choose the sound that he wants for the drums. I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Okay? Get out of the mixing room. Anyhow, that's how I feel about Saint Anger. I do like, I will say this, I do like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I do like Saint Anger on this album. Anytime I'm really frustrated about something or upset about something, I can always put that song on and scream it out, and I feel better afterwards. I can really understand and relate to where James is coming from on that track. Next up, and this may be a little controversial, but whatever, I have Hardwired to Self-Destruct. First half of the album to me is great. This is a retrospective list. When this album came out, I absolutely wore it out. There are some really, really good moments on this record. Spit Out the Bone takes me back to, way back in the day, to Kill 'Em All days. I mean, way back in the day. And Injustice for All days. There's some songs in here to take me to the Load and Reload days. There's a couple tracks in here, like Dream No More, that take me maybe to the Black Album days. I just felt like there wasn't a theme throughout, and they try to throw a little bit of everything at what they're good at and try to make too many of their fans happy in one record. It's not a bad record at all. With like Saint Anger, anybody slaps their name on there other than Metallica, nobody listens to it. That's not the case with Hardwired to Self-Destruct. It is a fantastic record, but for the purposes of this list, it ranks right below Saint Anger as my third least favorite Metallica album that they put out. First half of the album I really enjoy. Second half of the album kind of falls off until we get to the end track, Spit Out the Bone, and then it's just amazing. Hardwired to Self-Destruct, third from last on the Metallica rankings. Next up, I don't have the line for this, sorry. Reload. So, also again, if we weren't talking about Metallica, this would be, I think, a great album. This is a great hard rock album. If you take Metallica off the label and you put band blank 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 in there, this album sells 1 million copies, and it's a fantastic album. I just think that this was a lot of filler from the writing stages from Load, and we could have done that without a lot of these songs on here. Although I do really enjoy Fixer. It's one of my favorite Metallica songs, and The Unforgiven 2 is also a really good song that's on this album. But songs like Slither and Bad Seed and Attitude, I don't know. But for the purposes of this ranking, it falls fourth from last on the Metallica discography for me. Next up, we have Garage Inc. There are some amazing covers on this album. I really enjoy this record. Some of the ones that are on here that you never hear mentioned a lot are songs like Astronomy, and I think there's Astronomy and Sabracadabra, and It's Electric are some of my favorites that are on this album. And then you get the side 2 with the Motorhead covers, Overkill, and things like that on here. So, pretty good album. Still have the best cover of Turn the Page and On the Man. Whiskey in a Jar, though, I could go the rest of my life without ever hearing that song. I don't know why that song caught on so much, but I don't know. Next up, their new release, 72 Seasons. Love this record. There's a couple of weak spots on this record. I think a couple of songs go on maybe a little bit too long. Now, keep in mind, I do want to throw a caveat. I am not a musician, and it sounds like I'm critiquing, and I'm not really critiquing. These guys can do things that I could never dream of doing, and so I do want to say that I'm trying. It's hard to critique the best metal band of all time, but if you can't, if you're going to, you kind of got to. Sleepwalk My Life Away is kind of a low point on this album for me. I don't really like Screaming Suicide that much either. But I love the second half of this album. The Crown of Barbed Wire, The Chasing Light, Too Far Gone, Room of Mirrors, Inamorata. Love, love, love those songs on this album. Fantastic album by Metallica. It's good to know that we're trending in the right direction. Their last release isn't their worst album. It's actually 6 on the list for me from the bottom. Next up, we have, and this is the one I dropped. This is another one that I don't have on vinyl. And the only reason I don't have this is Load, by the way, Load. The only reason I don't have this Load and Reload on vinyl is because I'm saving up to get the colored vinyls that Walmart put out like 3 or 4 years ago. They're like $70 a piece, as cheap as I can find them. I don't just want to go out and buy it because I can buy a normal copy of Load and Reload on black vinyl for $25, but I'm saving for those. That's why I don't have them yet. Love this record. Love this record. This is a fantastic Metallica album. I know when this album came out, a lot of old heads and old fans of this band were like, "Oh, that's it, they're done," blah blah blah. And maybe to a certain extent, they were done with playing thrash metal. I mean, you can't play thrash metal forever and just keep putting out the same sounding album over and over again. Which I will say with Metallica, they played heavy metal, but they just had, everybody knows Metallica has a very unique style with telling a story with their guitars and their rhythm and their song composition in their music. And that's what makes them really unique. The arrangements. R.I.P. Cliff Burton, because we haven't had a lot of that since he died. What an amazing musical mind he was. But Load comes in next. Love this album. The Outlaw Torn is one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time. If that doesn't get your noodle going, nothing in rock and roll will. Mama Said is a great song, or a real look inside. You get to see a little bit more of James Hetfield's Salter side there. The House That Jack Built, I really like that song. That's on here. Bleeding Me is fantastic. Wasting My Hate is fantastic. Ronnie is fantastic. Just a great album. You could have took a couple of songs out of this album, a couple of songs from the Reload album, and put them on this album. You'd have one killer record here. But Load comes in next. And this is where we're going to start to have a little controversy. And please feel free to leave it in the comments below. That's what I want to do. I want to interact with the community. Next up on my list is the Black Album. And you may think to yourself, wait a minute, there's some newer albums that were out before the Black Album. That's correct. I base this list on my ear. And when I'm wanting to listen to Metallica, what do I go and grab more than others? And I'm just sorry to say that, albeit this is a fantastic record by all intents and purposes, I mean, it speaks for itself. The numbers that this album has done, it is a very bottled up record. It's not very raw. It's very precise, very bottled up, very radio friendly version of Metallica, as you could say. The songs are killer. The songs are killer. But once again, songs to the back of this album tend to be my favorite. The Struggle Within, My Friend of Misery, The God That Failed, A Wolf and Man. These songs, Through the Never, these songs are my favorite songs on here. And maybe that's just because I've heard all of these songs so many times that it probably really truthfully is, other than Saint Anger, the album that I go to listen to the least, the Black Album. So the Black Album falls next on my list, and I know that's going to draw some controversy. Next up, Death Magnetic. And I love this record. I love this record. Another album where the drums are a little bit too loud. It seems like Lars and James are trying to fight in the sound room and the drums kept picking up, and the guitars kept picking up, then the drums, then the guitars, then the drum, you know. And then the one thing about this album I will say is it was recorded really loud. So if you're listening to it on a system or in your car and you turn it up, it's just really, the mix is really, really loud, and you get a lot of distortion in songs like My Apocalypse and Broken, Beat, and Scarred, and the Judas Kiss and songs like that. There's a lot of distortion in there. Really would have loved to have that cleaned up into production. It would have been one of their best albums of all time. Really, really enjoyed Death Magnetic, a return to form from Metallica, a really angry album from Metallica, a really retrospective album from James. I feel like the lead guitars on this album are also fantastic. It was a return to form after the Saint Anger debacle for Kirk Hammett. It was also the first full-length studio album that Rob Trujillo ever did with the band, and it's just a killer record. Next up, their first record, Kill 'Em All. And yeah, I mean, it's just a basic thrash record. Not a lot of harmony, not a lot of melody in this album, just a headbanging record. Love this album. Four Horsemen is one of my favorite Metallica songs of all time. Really, really enjoy it, but for the purposes of this list, it falls in this spot. This is also going to draw some controversy because people are going to be like, oh, I can't believe that's not number one or whatever, but it's not. It's my list. So next up, Master of Puppets. To me, is their third best record to me. Now, I know that for arrangement purposes and overall start to finish album, it could possibly be their best work. But once again, if I'm pulling out and I want to listen to something from Metallica, that's where that album falls. And that could also fall into the Black Album category, to where I've heard that album so many times that, you know, I'd rather hear something else. But, you know, truthfully, even with 72 Seasons and Hardwired to Self-Destruct, I've also heard those albums a lot of times. And I just, you know, Master of Puppets, I don't really find myself reaching for that album a lot. Now, I love Orion. I love Damage Incorporated. I love Disposable Heroes and The Thing That Should Not Be, Battery. I love those songs. But their third best work to me is Master of Puppets. Next up, And Justice for All. And Justice for All holds a special place in my heart. It was the first Metallica album that I ever heard. So maybe that's why. I didn't know when I first heard this album when I was 10 years old that productions were, you know, how things should sound sonically in a production room. It didn't really matter that much to me. I just knew I loved the guitar work. The guitar work on this album is freaking crazy tight. It's probably their angriest album. We all know why. They were in a very dark place when they wrote this record. And it's just aggressive, and it's a true form, probably their truest form of heavy metal that they've ever been at any time, I believe, is on this album. And for those reasons, it falls second on my list. And last, but certainly not least, we hope that Metallica keeps putting out music, is Ride the Lightning. To me, for every reason that you could think of, this is my favorite Metallica album. It has the best guitar parts to me, the best, some of the best lyrical content to me. The production on this album was really great. It was such a huge leap from Kill 'Em All, and they just kicked their asses on the scene with this when this one dropped. And I love this album, and I find that when I'm pulling, I want to hear Metallica, and I'm reaching. Ride the Lightning. Growing up, I grew up in a not so great household, and I had a copy of this on cassette. And when my mom and dad would be fighting, I would put my big wraparound headphones on, and I would just turn this album up all the way through to The Wind Started Blowing Through the Call of Cthulhu, and I just fell in love with this record, and it's just my all-time favorite Metallica record. I did leave the 598 EP off the list, unfortunately, probably because I don't have a copy of that in any form. Well, I do, I have, it's on this, but I don't have a standalone copy of that. Shame on me, I know. But I did have the 598 EP between Death Magnetic and Kill 'Em All. So I like the 598 EP more than Kill 'Em All. I mean, more than the Black Album. I'm sorry. But, I fell in love with Metallica before the Black Album came out. It was just such a stark change in sound. People will say that, Load and Reload was a huge change in sound. And it was. But for me, the Injustice for All to the Black Album change in sound was just as dramatic to me. And what I fell in love with was first hearing Injustice for All, and then I went back and 598 EP and the Master of Puppets Ride the Lightning. That's what I grew up listening to from Metallica. And when the Black Album dropped, I could, at the time, I could really just take it or leave it, because I was into more new alternative bands that were coming on at the time, and the Black Album just kind of hung out there in the ether for me. I had it, but it just wasn't something I listened to on a regular basis. Hey, but listen, thank you folks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments down below where you would rank these albums. Hey, and don't be scared to hurt my feelings. I love the interacting with the community, and we'll see you on the next one.